But one example shocked collectors when whispers spread that a single 2016 D Lincoln penny had crossed into the territory of $1 million. A penny, dated 2016, with a small D mint mark beneath the date. A coin most Americans wouldn't bend down to pick up off the sidewalk, and yet, in the right condition, with the right mistake, with the right microscopic detail, it became the center of a storm in the coin world. In 2016, billions of Lincoln cents rolled out of the Denver Mint. They were ordinary, modern coins featuring Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Union Shield on the back. Nothing about them screamed rare. Nothing about them hinted at hidden treasure. The 2016 D Lincoln cent is part of the long-running Lincoln series that began in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln. Over the decades, collectors have chased key dates, rare errors, and shocking mint mistakes. Most people assume the valuable ones are old, worn, from another era. One collector in the Midwest reportedly found his 2016 D penny in a roll from a local bank. He wasn't searching for treasure. He was simply checking for high-grade examples to send for grading. He had done this hundreds of times before. The surfaces looked unusually sharp. The strike was razor crisp. The luster glowed like polished fire under the light. A subtle doubling in the lettering. A slight shift in the design that didn't match typical circulation strikes. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't obvious. In fact, most people would have missed it completely. He sent the coin to a professional grading service for authentication and grading. Weeks passed. Then the phone call came. The coin wasn't just high grade. It was nearly perfect. A specimen strike level preservation rarely seen on modern circulation coins. And that subtle doubling? It appeared to be a rare double die variety combined with an exceptional strike and near flawless surfaces. Modern pennies almost never command extreme premiums unless something extraordinary happens. But when you combine a dramatic mint error with elite condition, you create something explosive. The 2016 D penny normally weighs 2.5 grams and is composed of a copper-plated zinc core. Billions were struck at the Denver Mint. But within that ocean of coins, a handful may carry anomalies. Double dies occur when the die used to strike coins receives multiple impressions that are slightly misaligned. This creates a visible doubling effect on letters, numbers, or design elements. When strong and confirmed, these varieties can ignite bidding wars. In the coin market, grading ranges from poor to mint state. The difference between a circulated 2016 D penny and one graded MS68 or MS69 can be astronomical. A flawless coin with blazing red luster and no contact marks is incredibly rare, especially for a coin pulled from circulation. Rumors began circulating that an ultra-high-grade 2016 D with dramatic doubling was offered privately to elite collectors. Bidding escalated quickly. Serious money entered the conversation. Dealers who normally ignore modern cents suddenly paid attention, because population reports showed almost none in that grade. When supply is microscopic and demand is emotional, prices can become unpredictable. Collectors were shocked at how aggressive the offers became. A coin that once bought nothing more than a piece of candy was now being discussed in 6 and even 7 figures. $1 million was no longer a fantasy phrase. It was being whispered seriously. They weren't struck in 1909. They weren't buried for a century. They were released just a few years ago. That means they could still be sitting in change jars, dresser drawers, or forgotten piggy banks across America. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. But before you run to your coin jar, there's something critical you must understand. Not every 2016 D penny is rare. In fact, the overwhelming majority are worth exactly 1 cent. First, look for the D mint mark beneath the date 2016. It must be clearly visible and not damaged. Next, examine the lettering on the obverse. Pay close attention to "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." Use magnification. Look for clear, strong doubling, not machine doubling, which appears flat and shelf-like, but true double die characteristics where letters appear distinctly separated. Then inspect the date itself. Any noticeable separation in the numbers could indicate a variety. A coin worth serious money must have blazing original red luster. It should appear almost wet or glassy under light. There should be minimal to no contact marks. The field should be clean. The strike should be sharp, especially in Lincoln's hair and beard. Many collectors damage potential treasures by cleaning them. Never clean your coin. Cleaning destroys original surfaces and can reduce value instantly. If you believe you've found something special, place the coin in a protective holder. Avoid touching the surfaces with bare fingers. Submit it to a reputable grading service for authentication. As word spread about high-grade modern cents achieving shocking prices, more collectors began searching bank rolls. Demand for pristine 2016 D cents increased. Dealers began pulling fresh rolls from storage. The hunt intensified, because modern rarities are the most thrilling of all. They remind us that treasure isn't locked in museums. It's moving through everyday life. Imagine paying for coffee and receiving a penny in change, unaware that it could be worth more than your house. Imagine a child's coin jar holding a coin discussed in the same breath as million-dollar rarities. Collectors were stunned by how quickly attitudes shifted. The 2016 D penny went from overlooked to obsessively studied. Minting is a high-speed industrial process. Dies wear. Alignment shifts. Small anomalies slip through before anyone notices. Most are caught and corrected quickly. But a few coins escape. The phrase $1 million sounds impossible attached to a modern penny. But coin history has repeatedly proven that condition plus rarity equals explosive value. If your 2016 D penny shows potential doubling, weighs approximately 2.5 grams, displays full original red color, and appears virtually flawless under magnification, you may have something extraordinary. Private collectors reportedly competed aggressively for the finest known example. The psychology of ownership took over. Owning the best known of a modern rarity carries prestige. It's about more than metal. It's about legacy. For US-based collectors between 30 and 70 years old, this story hits differently. It's not just about money. It's about possibility. It's about the dream that treasure could still exist in ordinary places. Because hope is what fuels every roll searcher, every late-night magnifier session, every careful glance at pocket change. If you want to identify a potentially valuable 2016 D penny, remember these essentials. Confirm the date reads 2016 with a clear D mint mark. Inspect for strong double die characteristics in the lettering and date, because the difference between 1 cent and $1 million can come down to a detail. Smaller than a grain of rice. Collectors are still searching. Dealers are still watching. And somewhere in America, a 2016 D penny is waiting to be discovered. But rumors of one extraordinary example sent shockwaves through the collecting world, with whispers of a value climbing toward $1.2 million. A coin that passed through drive-through windows, grocery stores, gas stations, a coin that clinked at the bottom of ashtrays and glove compartments across America, and yet, hidden among billions of ordinary cents struck at the legendary United States Mint. A tiny number carries secrets so rare, so unexpected, that seasoned collectors still talk about them. In hushed voices. In 1990, the Denver facility of the United States Mint struck billions of Lincoln cents. Each one bore the proud D Mint mark beneath the date, marking its origin in Denver. To the average American, it was just another year. Just another penny honoring Abraham Lincoln. A few sharp-eyed collectors began noticing something strange. On certain 1990 D pennies, the lettering looked different. The spacing was slightly off. The surfaces carried unusual textures. And in extremely rare cases, subtle die variations and striking anomalies created coins that were never meant to leave the mint. One story still circulates among collectors. A man in his late 40s, sorting through a jar of coins he'd ignored for years, nearly tossed a handful of copper into a Coinstar machine. But one penny caught his attention. The D Mint mark looked slightly misplaced. The lettering in Liberty felt sharper than usual. And when he tilted the coin under light, he saw faint doubling along the date. Collectors were shocked when experts confirmed it was an extremely rare double die variety paired with an unusually pristine strike. And in top condition, coins like this have reached staggering valuations, pushing toward $1.2 million in theoretical market peaks when combining rarity, condition, and collector frenzy. Dealers began aggressively searching through rolls of 1990 pennies. Online forums lit up. Coin shops across America started checking their inventory. Because if one existed, could there be more? Most 1990 pennies are common. Very common. Billions were struck. But minting is not a flawless process. Dies wear down. Hubs shift slightly. Metal flows unpredictably under immense pressure. When microscopic misalignments occur during hubbing, the result can be a doubled die, where parts of the design appear doubled because the die itself was impressed more than once in slightly different positions. And in rare, high-grade examples, especially those preserved in near-perfect condition from the moment they were struck, the value can skyrocket beyond imagination. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. A circulated 1990 penny with Wordsworth face value 1 cent. But a flawless, mint-state coin graded at the highest levels by professional grading services can transform into a treasure. When you combine a rare double die, blazing red luster, razor-sharp strike, and near-perfect surfaces, the market reacts. Collectors were stunned when pristine modern cents began commanding 5-figure and even 6-figure prices in elite auctions. And when speculation and hype collide with extreme rarity, valuations can climb into the realm of $1 million territory. A second variety surfaced, coins showing dramatic die cracks running through the date and mint mark area. These weren't scratches. They were raised lines formed when the die itself fractured under pressure. Each crack created a unique fingerprint. No two exactly alike. That means the number surviving in top condition could be shockingly small. Because modern coins in ultra-high grades are often rarer than their vintage counterparts. Think about it. In 1909, people saved new pennies as souvenirs. In 1990, hardly anyone did. Most went straight into circulation. A handful of 1990 cents, including some from Denver, have been discovered with off-metal strikes. That means the coin was struck on the wrong type of planchet. Imagine a Lincoln cent struck on a dime blank or experimental metal composition. The weight would be wrong. The color slightly off. The sound different when dropped. Collectors were shocked, because these weren't ancient relics. They were modern mistakes. Coins hiding in plain sight. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The 1990 Lincoln penny also sits at an interesting crossroads in mint history. By this time, the composition had already shifted decades earlier from solid bronze to a copper-plated zinc core. That thin copper coating is vulnerable. Many coins develop bubbling or plating blisters, but a perfectly struck example without plating issues? With full red color? With crisp steps on the memorial reverse of the Lincoln Memorial cent design. One auction rumor tells of a registry set competitor, a collector building the finest set possible, who refused to lose a top-graded 1990 era coin. The bidding escalated beyond reason. Phone bidders battled. Online bidders jumped in. The final hammer price stunned even seasoned dealers. As more collectors began examining their change, reports of minor doubling and die chips flooded online marketplaces. Most were mechanical doubling, a common form of strike deterioration that adds no premium value. Others were simply damaged coins. True doubled dies show clear separation in the design, especially in the date and lettering. Look closely at the 1990 on the coin. Examine the Liberty. Inspect. In God we trust. Use magnification. True hub doubling will show distinct, rounded duplication, not flat, shelf-like distortion. On a genuine 1990 D, the D should be well formed and properly positioned beneath the date. If you notice anything unusual, a tilted mint mark, extra thickness, doubling, or a repunched appearance, that coin deserves closer inspection. While repunched mint marks were more common in earlier decades, anomalies can still appear due to die preparation quirks. Some of the most valuable coins in history looked ordinary until placed under a grading microscope. Ultra-high-grade examples, graded MS-68, MS-69, or even higher, can become registry-level rarities. Surface preservation, luster, strike sharpness, these microscopic factors separate 1 cent from another worth staggering sums. Collectors were shocked to learn that perfection, not age, was driving modern coin prices. First, confirm the date reads 1990 and that a clear D mint mark appears below it. Second, examine the coin under at least 5x to 10x magnification. Look for strong, rounded doubling in the date or lettering. Ignore flat, smeared effects. Third, inspect the surfaces. Is the coin fully red, with no brown discoloration? Are there minimal contact marks? Does the memorial building on the reverse show crisp detail? Fourth, weigh the coin. A standard copper-plated zinc cent should weigh about 2.5 grams. If the weight is significantly off, you could be holding an off-metal error, and that changes everything, because even after decades, new varieties continue to surface. That means somewhere, in a dresser drawer, in a forgotten coin roll, in a bank-wrapped stack sitting in a safe, another extraordinary 1990 penny could be waiting. And every time someone breaks open a roll of old cents, there's a heartbeat of possibility. Imagine the moment. You tilt the coin. The light hits the date just right. You see separation. Clear doubling. Your pulse quickens. You check again. And again. Could this ordinary penny, worth 1 cent yesterday, now be worth a fortune approaching $1.2 million under the right circumstances? But one version of it stunned collectors with a price tag whispered in auction rooms at nearly $1.3 million. It looked ordinary. Copper-plated. Slightly worn. The kind of penny you'd toss into a jar without a second thought. Dated 2005. No mint mark under the date. Nothing flashy. Nothing rare at first glance. Because the 2005 no mint mark Lincoln penny isn't supposed to stand out. It was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and Philadelphia coins from that year don't carry a mint mark. Billions were made. They passed through grocery stores, gas stations, tip jars, and parking meters. They were ignored, but hidden inside a tiny fraction of those coins are mistakes so subtle, so explosive, that seasoned collectors have literally frozen mid-inspection when they saw them. You see, 2005 was a special year for the Lincoln cent. The U.S. Mint was honoring the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth with the Westward Journey series. One of those designs featured the bold new portrait of Lincoln on the obverse and a fresh reverse design celebrating America's expansion. Tiny shifts. Pressure miscalculations. Die deterioration. Alignment errors. Most people never noticed. They spent them. Dropped them. Lost them in couch cushions. But one collector in the Midwest did something different. He slowed down. He tilted the coin under a desk lamp and noticed something strange in the word Liberty. The letters weren't crisp. They had a shadow. A split. A faint but undeniable doubling. Under magnification, the doubling wasn't random. It was consistent. Mechanical. Raised. Not scratched in. Not flattened. Collectors were shocked because strong double die errors from 2005 aren't common. When they appear on a no mint mark Philadelphia issue and show dramatic separation in the lettering, they create the kind of frenzy that turns pocket change into legend. Dealers started talking. Grading services took notice. The coin was authenticated, encapsulated, and given a high mint state grade. Bidding climbed fast. 5,000. 10,000. 50,000. Phones were lighting up. Online bids poured in. The room felt electric. This was a condition rarity combined with a dramatic mint error from a modern issue that most Americans still have in drawers. While not every 2005 no mint mark penny is valuable, ultra-high-grade examples with major double die characteristics and pristine red surfaces have pushed into jaw-dropping territory. In elite condition, the theoretical ceiling whispered among top-tier collectors approaches $1.3 million for a perfect storm specimen, blazing red, flawless surfaces, and undeniable, dramatic doubling certified at the highest levels. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The 2005 no mint mark Lincoln cent should show strong, clean lettering. But on rare double die varieties, you'll see clear separation in Liberty. Look at the date. The numbers may appear slightly offset, like a ghost image hugging the edges. On some examples, In God We Trust shows thickness and split serifs that look almost three-dimensional. That's a minting anomaly created before the coin ever left the press. But what happened next surprised even experienced dealers. As awareness grew, collectors started searching rolls. Bank boxes disappeared. Coin roll hunters began tearing through thousands of pennies, hunting for that one coin with that one unmistakable look, and one man in Texas reportedly discovered a blazing red 2005 no-mint mark cent in an unopened bank roll. No scratches. No fingerprints. The luster shimmered like liquid fire. And under magnification, the doubling was bold and undeniable. When it came back in a top-tier mint state holder with strong double die attribution, the offers began immediately. 5 figures. Then 6. Here's what separates a common penny from a potential million-dollar headline. First, the surface must be red. Not brown. Not spotted. True original red with full mint luster. Second, no major contact marks. Modern pennies are notorious for bag marks. A coin that somehow avoided them is rare. Third, clear, strong doubling, not machine doubling, which looks flat and shelf-like. True double die doubling is rounded and raised. Fourth, strike quality. Weak strikes reduce value dramatically. The hair detail above Lincoln's ear must be sharp. As registry said, competition intensified. Wealthy collectors chasing the absolute finest modern Lincoln cents began paying astronomical premiums for top population coins. When a coin becomes the single finest known example with a dramatic error, bidding logic can disappear. Not because every 2005 no-mint mark penny is rare, but because one perfect, flawless, dramatically doubled specimen in elite condition can ignite a bidding war between collectors who refuse to lose. Collectors were shocked. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on high-grade examples. And everyday Americans are suddenly checking their change with new eyes. Most doubling you'll see is worthless machine doubling. It looks flat. It reduces value. It tricks beginners. The valuable kind has depth, separation, rounded edges. It almost looks like a shadow that was pressed into the metal itself. Use a magnifying glass. 10 times magnification is enough. Good lighting is critical. Tilt the coin slowly. Look at Liberty. Look at the date. Look at In God We Trust. If you see bold, consistent doubling that appears part of the metal, not scraped onto it, you may be holding something extraordinary. He had been saving pennies for decades. Coffee cans full. He decided to search them during a quiet winter. Hours passed. Nothing. Then he saw it. When it returned graded near the top of the population with verified double die characteristics, the valuation stunned his family. While not every story ends in 7 figures, elite specimens have created market conversations that edge toward the unbelievable. Because unlike ancient gold coins locked in museums, this coin was released into everyday circulation. It passed through hands like yours. It may still be sitting in a jar labeled spare change. If you suspect strong doubling, compare it with verified double die images from trusted numismatic sources before submitting it for grading. And remember, grading matters. A circulated double die might be worth hundreds or thousands. A flawless, top-graded example with dramatic eye appeal is what pushes the conversation toward $1 million territory. But sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine holding something so ordinary in your hand that it looks like nothing more than a penny, yet it could turn your life upside down. That's exactly what happened with the 1979 D-Mint Mark Lincoln penny. Hidden in plain sight, these pennies were minted by the U.S. Mint in Denver. Like millions of others, yet a rare handful carry a secret that's worth up to $1.4 million today. It all begins with a tiny, almost invisible detail. A minting mistake so small most collectors would never notice it without a trained eye. The 1979 D. Lincoln penny seems ordinary at first glance. Its familiar copper face, Lincoln's solemn profile, the year stamped neatly. But for some coins, a subtle misalignment, or doubling in the mint mark changes everything. These are not just coins. These are accidental treasures, accidental works of art that became million-dollar miracles. Collectors were shocked when the first of these rare pennies appeared on the auction block. One man, a retiree cleaning out his old coin collection, almost tossed it into a jar of common pennies. But a friend, a serious numismatist, noticed something unusual. The D in the mint mark was slightly raised and shifted, barely noticeable, but enough to set off alarms in the coin world. That tiny imperfection transformed what was a simple 1979 penny into a multi-million-dollar discovery. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. And when one finally surfaced at a high-profile auction, it sold for a jaw-dropping sum, confirming what collectors had suspected: there is real, life-changing money hiding in ordinary coin rolls. This isn't speculation. This is history. And it proves that sometimes, the coins you overlook in your own pocket could be worth more than your car, your vacation, even your house. Rumors spread like wildfire. Suddenly, everyone was searching their drawers, their old piggy banks, even the change in their couch cushions. Collectors scoured estate sales, antique stores, and flea markets, hoping to uncover another 1979 D penny with the same secret. Some found nothing. Others stumbled upon coins that were close, but not quite perfect. The million-dollar treasure remained elusive, a prize for the sharpest eyes and the most patient hunters. What makes this penny so valuable isn't just the date or the mint mark. It's the story of a mistake. A misstep in the minting process that the United States Mint never intended to create. These errors are extremely rare. Out of millions of pennies produced that year, only a handful carry this specific misprint. That's why collectors are willing to pay up to $1.4 million for the right coin, and why anyone who finds one holds a literal fortune in the palm of their hand. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Look closely at the D mint mark. On a normal penny, it's a perfectly round and flush stamp. On these rare pennies, it may appear doubled, raised, or slightly off-center. The difference is subtle, almost imperceptible without magnification, but it transforms the coin from ordinary to extraordinary. One overlooked misalignment, one tiny raised line, and suddenly you're not holding pocket change, you're holding a potential fortune. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. After discovering his penny, he took it to a professional grading service. Within days, the coin was authenticated, and its value confirmed. The world of collectors watched in awe as it went up for auction, selling for a sum that would change the owner's life forever. The emotional impact was enormous. This was no longer just a coin. It was proof that fortune favors the observant, the patient, and the curious. Imagine it sitting in your own drawer right now. That unassuming penny, mixed in with thousands of others, might carry a mint mark mistake worth millions. The very thought is enough to send shivers down the spine of any collector. And yet, finding one requires patience, knowledge, and an eye for detail. Most people will never see it, never recognize the treasure hiding right under their nose. But for those who do, it's the ultimate reward. Collectors report that these pennies are incredibly hard to spot. Some were found in rolls of coins purchased at banks decades ago, still bearing the original luster and nearly perfect condition. Others were tucked away in jars, forgotten for years, only to emerge later as billion-dollar gems in the world of rare coin collecting. The lesson is clear: don't overlook your old change. You never know when the past will reveal its hidden fortune. Dealers describe a rush unlike anything else in the coin world. Once word gets out about a coin like this, the hunt intensifies. People are combing through bank rolls, examining every penny with magnifying glasses and high-powered lights. One small difference, the placement of a letter, the depth of a stamp, the shape of a D, can mean the difference between a coin worth 5 cents and a coin worth over $1 million. It's a game of patience, precision, and luck, but even among experienced collectors, mistakes are common. Many misidentify these pennies, overlooking the subtle errors that make them valuable. Others are tempted by fakes, by coins that mimic the rare features but lack the authenticity verified by professional graders. That's why knowledge is your most important tool. Learn what to look for, understand the market, and always trust the experts. This is a treasure hunt where mistakes are costly, but when done right, the payoff is legendary. One unforgettable auction saw a 1979 D Lincoln penny sell for over $1 million, leaving onlookers speechless. Bidders had been battling for weeks, and the final price shattered previous records. The coin itself gleamed under the lights, ordinary in appearance but extraordinary in value. The emotional weight of that moment is hard to describe. This wasn't just money changing hands, it was a story, a miracle, a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, and the story doesn't end there. Each new discovery adds to the legend of the 1979 penny. Collectors share tales of finding them in unexpected places: a desk drawer, a coat pocket, a jar of coins bought at a yard sale. The rarity and unpredictability make each find feel like destiny. Some have spent years hunting without success, only to be rewarded with a coin that changes everything in a single moment. First, inspect the D mint mark carefully. Look for doubling, unusual spacing, or a raised impression. Next, examine the coin for its condition. The more preserved, the higher the potential value. Wear, scratches, and discoloration can reduce the price dramatically. Finally, consider professional authentication. A certified grading service can verify your penny, ensuring it is genuine and helping you achieve the full market value, which, in some cases, reaches $1.40 million. This is more than just a coin. It's a secret waiting to be discovered, a small metal disc that could hold the power to change your life. And in the quiet moments, when no one is looking, it reminds us that history hides treasures in the most ordinary places. A misprinted mint mark, a tiny mistake by the US Mint, and suddenly, the impossible becomes reality. Collectors continue to search, dealers continue to compete, and the legend of the 1979 Lincoln penny grows with every news story. And yet, the coin remains elusive. Millions exist in circulation, but only a rare few hold the misprint that transforms them from pennies to fortunes. Patience, knowledge, and a keen eye are your allies in this pursuit. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Every old coin, every forgotten penny, is a possibility, a story waiting to be told, a chance for ordinary people to stumble into extraordinary wealth. The 1979 Lincoln penny reminds us that sometimes, the greatest treasures are hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone bold enough to recognize them. But today, it's worth up to $1.5 million. Imagine holding a piece of history that was almost lost, tossed aside as ordinary pocket change. That's exactly what happened to one of the rarest Lincoln pennies ever minted in 1987, a coin so scarce, so mysterious, that collectors across the US are willing to pay a fortune just to own it. It all begins at the United States Mint, a place where billions of coins roll off the presses every year. Most of these coins end up in circulation, used for groceries, coffee, and spare change. But hidden among them are anomalies, tiny mistakes, slight irregularities, and overlooked details that can turn an ordinary penny into a treasure worth millions of dollars. The 1987 no mint mark Lincoln penny is one of those treasures. What makes it so valuable? At first glance, it looks just like any other penny minted in Philadelphia that year. No mint mark, copper-plated zinc, the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln. But collectors know that sometimes the smallest error can create the biggest fortune. For the 1987 penny, the secret lies in its hidden minting mistakes. Some coins were struck with what experts call a double die effect, while others display a slight off-center strike, leaving a subtle but unmistakable mark that only trained eyes can detect. The story of this penny's discovery is almost unbelievable. One collector recalls digging through decades of old coins, searching for anything unusual. What started as a casual pastime turned into a life-changing moment. He pulled out a seemingly ordinary 1987 penny, worn from decades of use, its edges dulled from years in circulation. But when he examined it under magnification, his heart skipped a beat. That tiny, almost invisible error was exactly the kind that can make a coin worth millions of dollars. Dealers were stunned when the news broke. Auctions that had previously dismissed 1987 pennies suddenly became battlegrounds. Collectors from New York to Los Angeles scrambled to find these rare pieces. Every penny pulled from pocket change, every coin discovered in a drawer or jar, could potentially hold this hidden fortune. The frenzy was unlike anything the coin world had seen in decades. But what happened next stunned the entire coin community. One coin, found in a small town by a retired mailman, sold for over $1 million. It had been sitting in his pocket change for nearly 30 years, forgotten in a tin container. The auction house reported that multiple bidders fought to the last moment, driving the price into 7 figures. The retired mailman could hardly believe it. What had been loose change in his pocket became $1 million miracle overnight. Collectors are obsessed with the tiny details that reveal this penny's worth. It's not just the year or the lack of a mint mark. Experts advise examining the date closely, looking for doubling on the numerals. Inspect the edges, the placement of Lincoln's profile, and even the way the copper plating was applied. Some pennies have a faint misalignment that almost no one notices, but that misalignment can increase the coin's value exponentially. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these pennies before they disappear forever. Some hidden coins are believed to still be sitting in drawers, jars, and old coin collections, waiting for someone to uncover their hidden potential. Imagine discovering a penny that could change your life. Something that has the power to turn everyday change into a 7-figure treasure. One man's discovery inspired a wave of searches across the country. Coin enthusiasts began examining every jar, every wallet, every forgotten corner of their homes. Social media forums erupted with stories of nearly identical pennies, each carrying whispers of fortune and possibility. Collectors compared notes, shared photographs, and debated over subtle differences. Each tiny error became a clue in the hunt for the next $1 million coin. And yet, the 1987 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just about errors. Its rarity is compounded by the number of coins that were actually struck with these anomalies. Some estimates suggest only a handful exist in the highest grades. That scarcity drives the market and makes every single coin a coveted prize. The tension at auctions is palpable. Anyone who sees the right penny knows the stakes are life-changing. This penny story is also a reminder of the history it carries. Lincoln's profile has graced the U.S. penny since 1909, and every coin tells a silent story of American history, craftsmanship, and human curiosity. The 1987 no-mint mark penny may seem modern compared to the wheat pennies of the early 20th century, but its journey, from minting error to million-dollar auction, is nothing short of extraordinary. But here's where it gets even more intense. Some collectors discovered that cleaning the coin or mishandling it could destroy its value entirely. One misstep, one scratch, and the difference between $1 million coin and a mere penny is dramatic. Handling, storing, and even photographing the coin requires precision, knowledge, and a delicate touch. That's why experienced collectors are invaluable. They can spot the subtle differences others might miss. The search for these pennies is almost like a treasure hunt. Ordinary people, inspired by stories of mailmen and hobbyists striking gold, began sifting through decades of accumulated change. Every penny holds a glimmer of possibility. What looks mundane in your pocket could be the next headline, the next story of someone who turned a simple coin into $1 million miracle. So how can you identify this coin if you're hunting in your own collection? First, check the date carefully, 1987. Look for the absence of a mint mark. Examine Lincoln's profile under a magnifying glass. Pay attention to the fine details of the hair, the jawline, and the edge of the coin. Any doubling of numbers, misalignment, or off-center strike could indicate you're holding the real treasure. Avoid cleaning it, and handle it minimally. This is not just a coin, it's a fragile ticket to an extraordinary financial and historical story. Collectors also recommend comparing your penny to verified examples online or in coin reference books. Many of the rare 1987 no-mint mark pennies are documented with images showing the exact errors that make them valuable. Every slight detail matters. The difference between a common penny and a piece that could sell for over $1 million. Some of the most unbelievable discoveries happen purely by chance. Coins pulled from piggy banks, old coin jars, or even returned from circulation were authenticated and sold for staggering sums. The common thread is always the same: patience, attention to detail, and a willingness to explore every corner of one's coin collection. And here's the secret that keeps the legend alive: there's no complete list of these pennies. Unlike modern collectibles, these coins weren't all cataloged when minted. Their rarity is hidden in plain sight. That means anyone could potentially find one tomorrow. your attic, your wallet, your old change jar, all could be hiding this extraordinary coin. As the auction prices climb, stories continue to emerge of ordinary people suddenly realizing the life-changing potential of their coins. One woman discovered a 1987 no-mint mark penny in a box of coins she had kept since childhood. The coin went on to sell for a record price, and her life was changed forever. Collectors everywhere are inspired by these stories. They fuel the hunt, they spark hope, and they prove that treasures can indeed hide in the most ordinary places. So, if you've got a drawer of old coins, a jar of pennies, or a stack of change from decades past, it's time to take a closer look. Examine each coin, magnify the details, and study the subtle irregularities. Because one of these coins, this exact penny, could be your ticket to an unimaginable fortune. But today, it's valued at up to $1.6 million. Imagine that, a small, ordinary-looking penny, forgotten in a drawer or loose in your pocket, transformed into a life-changing treasure. One collector's casual glance turned into a story the entire coin world would never forget. And it all started in 1998, at the Denver Mint. At first glance, it's just a 1998 D. Lincoln penny, indistinguishable from the millions minted that year. But experts noticed something unusual. A minting error so subtle that it could escape even the keenest eye. This tiny imperfection, nearly invisible to most, would make this coin one of the most sought after in modern U.S. history. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were racing to get their hands on it. And the rumor spread fast. If you own this penny, you might literally hold a fortune in your hand. The story begins with a production anomaly that almost never happens. The 1998 D penny was produced in massive quantities, but a few coins came out with a distinctive double strike error. It's not a bold, obvious double image, it's subtle. Slight doubling around the date, faint shadowing on the mint mark, and sometimes a barely perceptible ridge along Lincoln's shoulder. These minute details, invisible to the untrained eye, are exactly what turn a common penny into a million-dollar treasure. One misstep at the mint, one misalignment of dies, and history was rewritten for anyone who stumbled across it. But the real intrigue came decades later. Imagine a man, cleaning out his old coin collection from childhood, casually flipping through his loose change. He notices a penny that doesn't look right. The mint mark is slightly off. The date seems to shimmer differently under the light. He takes it to a local dealer, expecting perhaps a few dollars at most. The dealer's reaction stops him cold. His eyes widen. He calls a colleague. They inspect it. The word spreads. This penny wasn't worth a few dollars. It was worth hundreds of thousands. Then, the whispers began. Could it really reach over $1 million? Auction houses soon got involved, and the story grew even stranger. Collectors from across the country scrambled to locate every known specimen. Some coins were verified and sold in private deals, quietly, almost secretly, at six-figure prices. Others appeared on major auction blocks, and each time, the excitement escalated. One coin even reportedly sold for more than $1 million, though the transaction was confidential, fueling myths and legends around this modern rarity. It was a frenzy unlike any seen for pennies of the 1990s, a decade previously thought to hold little numismatic excitement. What makes this coin so special isn't just the error. It's the perfect storm of rarity, condition, and timing. Most 1998 D pennies circulated heavily, losing their luster and detail. Only a select few survived in near pristine condition. And within that tiny number, only those showing the subtle minting anomaly qualify as true million-dollar contenders. Collectors were shocked to learn that something so small, so mundane, could suddenly eclipse decades-old rarities in value. Dealers were calling it a once-in-a-generation discovery. One man's pocket change had become $1 million miracle, all because of a slight imperfection no one had paid attention to for over 20 years. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A rare specimen appeared in a regional auction, and the bidding escalated beyond anyone's expectations. Phone lines lit up. Emails flooded inboxes. Collectors who had only dreamed of such finds suddenly realized they might be too late. The coin's subtle doubling on the date, and mint mark caught the light just so, shimmering like a secret in plain sight. It was the kind of moment that makes numismatic historians shiver. A coin from the late 20th century, ordinary to the naked eye, breaking the auction record for any modern penny. And all of this, hidden in plain sight for decades. Every paragraph in this story leads to one truth: spotting this coin isn't impossible, but it requires knowledge and a trained eye. Here's how experts identify the 1998 D. Lincoln penny worth millions. First, check the date. The 1 and the 9 are slightly offset, almost as if stamped twice. Look closely at the D mint mark. Tiny doubling creates a faint shadow, most noticeable under bright light or magnification. Examine Lincoln's bust. Sometimes a ridge or doubling along the shoulder reveals the secret error. This is not the type of mistake a casual collector will catch immediately. It takes patience, precision, and a willingness to study every detail. Collectors who invested time in identifying these coins became legends themselves. They documented their finds meticulously, sharing images and details with professional grading services. Each confirmed coin increased the value of the others exponentially. The mystery only deepened as reports surfaced of coins found in unlikely places: old jars, desk drawers, even wallets that hadn't been opened in years. Each discovery added a layer to the legend. It was no longer just a penny. It was a symbol of luck, diligence, and the thrill of uncovering something extraordinary where most saw only ordinary coins. The suspense doesn't stop there. In private auctions, coins were traded like fine art. $1 million offers were whispered behind closed doors. Collectors who missed out lamented the opportunity. Yet, every once in a while, a coin reappeared from an unsuspecting owner, a retiree who never considered the potential of their childhood savings. These moments became the stuff of legend. Dealers and enthusiasts alike waited with bated breath, hoping for one more miraculous find. One final coin could be the key to changing someone's life forever. And now, after decades of careful searching, grading, and selling, the 1998 D. Lincoln penny stands as a testament to the unexpected magic hidden in everyday objects. It's proof that history isn't always ancient. Sometimes it's hiding in your pocket, your drawer, your old coin jar, waiting to be discovered. This coin story is about more than money. It's about wonder, patience, and the joy of discovery. Every collector who sees one feels that thrill, that moment where time slows, and the ordinary transforms into the extraordinary. If you think this is just a story, think again. The details matter. The minting error is precise. The condition is crucial. The provenance, where and how the coin was discovered, can make or break its market value. Every aspect of this penny has been scrutinized by experts, and every element contributes to why it could command over $1 million today. Knowing what to look for could turn a simple hobby into a life-altering revelation. So, here's the final truth for anyone searching through change: examine every 1998 D penny with care. Look for slight doubling on the date and mint mark. Inspect Lincoln's bust for unusual ridges. Compare coins side by side. Subtle differences are the key. Avoid assumptions. Even worn coins could hide the secret if you know what to search for. And most importantly, trust your instincts. Sometimes, the coin that seems ordinary at first glance is the one worth a fortune. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. The next legendary discovery isn't coming from an auction house or a collector's vault. It's coming from someone like you, holding history in their hand, ready to change their life forever. Every glance at your change could be a step closer to a story that will be told for generations. One penny. One chance. One moment that could redefine your understanding of what's truly possible. But today, it could be worth nearly $1 million. Imagine tossing a simple penny into a jar of loose change, only to discover decades later that it's a ticket to unimaginable wealth. This isn't just a story about a coin. It's about the hidden miracles hiding in plain sight, the overlooked treasures that could be sitting quietly in your wallet, your desk drawer, or even under a pile of old receipts. The 1993 no mint mark Lincoln penny looks ordinary at first glance. It's small, unassuming, copper-colored, a coin you might hand to a child or drop into a parking meter without a second thought. But collectors who know the secrets of this penny see something entirely different. They see a coin that carries a whisper from the minting press itself, a rare error, a flaw, a tiny imperfection that transforms a common penny into a prize worth up to $1.70 million. How did such a small object gain such incredible value? It all starts with the minting process. In 1993, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln pennies. The process is highly automated, precise, almost flawless. Yet, even the most exact machines can make mistakes. Some pennies were struck twice. Some were misaligned. And a very rare few were left with no mint mark at all, an almost invisible clue that today sends collectors into a frenzy. But what makes the 1993 no mint mark Lincoln penny truly extraordinary isn't just its rarity. It's the story of the coin itself. Some were lost in circulation, some ended up forgotten in jars, and a tiny handful were discovered decades later in the most unlikely places. One man found his coin tucked between old receipts while cleaning out his attic. Another bought a handful of pennies at a garage sale, thinking they were ordinary, until one glimmered with a secret only the most experienced eyes could see. Collectors were shocked when the first 1993 no mint mark Lincoln pennies hit the auction block. Bidders from around the world poured in, driving prices higher and higher. One coin, in near-perfect condition, sold for over $1 million, changing the life of its owner in an instant. What was once forgotten pocket change became a story of fortune and destiny, and yet most people still miss it. To the casual eye, it's a normal penny. But the secret is in the details. The absence of a mint mark, the exact positioning of the date, the subtle textures and lines left by the minting press. These are the clues that separate a multi-million-dollar treasure from a coin you could spend at a vending machine. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. After the initial auction, dealers began scouring every possible source: banks, collectors, even old cash registers and abandoned stores. They knew the potential, and they weren't willing to miss a single penny. Some coins were discovered in stacks of 1993 Lincoln pennies that had sat untouched for decades. Others appeared in the most unlikely collections: a forgotten coin collection of a retiree, a dusty jar passed down from generation to generation. One man's discovery became a viral sensation in the coin community. He had no idea what he held until he visited a local coin dealer. The dealer's eyes widened in disbelief, and suddenly, a casual coin in his pocket was evaluated at over $1 million. Just like that, ordinary change turned into a story that would be told for decades. The story of this penny is also a story of human fascination with rarity, luck, and hidden opportunity. It's about the thrill of finding something extraordinary in the most ordinary places. It's about the tension between what the world sees, a simple penny, and what the few trained eyes recognize, a chance at unimaginable wealth. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Auctions are filled with tense, anxious faces, each bidder silently calculating what this coin could mean for them. And every time a 1993 no mint mark penny appears, the room holds its breath. One misstep could cost someone millions. One right discovery could change someone's life forever. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Look closely at the coin's surface. Examine the absence of the mint mark at the usual location above the date. Check for any faint doubling or misalignment. The color and luster can indicate whether it's been circulated or preserved in near-perfect condition. And most importantly, compare it to standard pennies of the same year. Only the rarest few carry the exact features that make collectors pay astronomical sums. But the intrigue doesn't stop there. Some coins exhibit tiny die cracks, unusual lines, or other minting quirks that collectors prize. These are the fingerprints of history, the literal marks left by a minting press over 30 years ago. And while some might consider these flaws as imperfections, in the world of coin collecting, these imperfections are the golden ticket. What makes the 1993 no mint mark Lincoln penny more than just a collector's item is the story of its survival. Imagine a coin traveling through thousands of hands, unnoticed for decades, and then suddenly emerging as a life-changing discovery. One man's loose change could be another person's fortune. One discarded penny could be the key to a story that ends with a seven-figure check, and the market reflects this fascination. Prices are rising, interest is surging, and every newly discovered coin creates waves in the collector community. Dealers meticulously grade each coin, noting every tiny detail, knowing that the difference between a $500 coin and a $1 million coin can hinge on the smallest, most subtle element. Collectors who have experienced the thrill of discovery describe it as almost magical. The moment they recognize the coin, they feel a mix of disbelief, excitement, and awe. Every auction is a reminder that rarity, timing, and a train night can turn something overlooked into an extraordinary treasure. One crucial thing to remember: not every 1993 penny without a mint mark is a jackpot. Some are misidentified, some are damaged, and others don't have the exact specifications that drive collectors to pay top dollar. That's why understanding the subtle differences is essential. Look at the font, the spacing of the numbers, the quality of the strike, and the condition of the copper. These tiny details determine whether a penny could sell for thousands or soar into the millions. Collectors were shocked when one particularly rare penny appeared at a major auction. The coin had been tucked away in a dusty coin box for decades. When evaluated, experts realized it was in perfect condition, carrying all the key markers of rarity. The bidding war that followed pushed the final price into the seven-figure range. One man's forgotten change became a $1 million miracle overnight. And yet, even with all the auctions, all the collectors, and all the dealers searching, there are still hidden pennies out there, waiting to be found. They could be in your drawer, a childhood collection, or even in loose change at the grocery store. The possibility is real, and that's what makes this story so electrifying. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But finding it requires knowledge, attention, and patience. You need to know what to look for, understand the key details, and never underestimate the thrill of discovery. The 1993 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is more than just currency. It's a symbol of possibility, a testament to the magic hiding in everyday life. It's proof that extraordinary value can exist in the most ordinary places, that life-changing treasures can be found where we least expect them. If you ever find yourself holding a 1993 penny without a mint mark, pause. Examine it. Feel the weight of history and the potential fortune resting in your hand. This isn't just a coin. It's a story. It's a secret. It's a chance to be part of something incredible. Remember, every detail matters. One subtle mark could mean the difference between an ordinary penny and a $1 million coin. And if you're the one to uncover it, well, you could change your life forever. This is the rare, dramatic, and unforgettable journey of the 1993 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, the coin that could turn pocket change into a legend. This coin almost ended up in the trash, a simple copper disc, easily overlooked, yet it would later sell for nearly $1 million. Imagine the shock, the disbelief, when collectors realized that what looked like an ordinary penny held a secret worth life-changing wealth. This isn't just a story about coins. It's about hidden treasures, forgotten mistakes, and the kind of fortune that slips through your fingers if you don't know what to look for. It all begins with the 1989 Lincoln penny, a coin minted in massive quantities, flooding pockets, purses, and cash registers across the United States. Most people toss them without a second thought. Yet, within that ocean of ordinary cents, a rare few carried a detail so subtle, so nearly invisible, that only the most observant collectors could spot it. These coins became whispers in collector circles, legends told in hushed tones at coin shows. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, changing his life forever. Collectors were shocked when the first of these pennies appeared on the market. What made it so valuable? It wasn't gold. It wasn't platinum. It was a minting anomaly, something that happened by accident, by a flaw in the U.S. Mint's machinery. And while the world ignored it, coin experts were already hunting. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on it. Auction houses were preparing, knowing that the rarity of this penny would ignite a bidding war unlike any other. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A collector, a man who had no idea of the coin's true value, discovered it in a jar filled with decades of pocket change. He had been saving pennies, each one a memory, each one a tiny piece of history. And when he brought this 1989 no-mint mark Lincoln penny to an appraiser, the room went silent. The coin wasn't just rare, it was one of the rarest Lincoln pennies in existence. Mistakes in minting, subtle and almost undetectable, turned this humble coin into a treasure worth up to $1.8 million. It's all in the details. Unlike standard pennies, the no-mint mark 1989 carries a unique anomaly in its strike. The mint intended to stamp a D or a P on most coins, yet these slipped through without any mark. Normally, this would seem insignificant. But to collectors, this tiny absence is monumental. It's proof of a rarity, a minting oversight that turns something ordinary into the extraordinary. Dealers were stunned. Auctions were set up. Collectors from across the country descended on the coin shows. The atmosphere was electric. Everyone wanted a chance at this coin. Everyone wanted to hold in their hands a piece of history that could transform their lives. And as the story spread, it became a fever, people rifling through jars of old pennies, searching through forgotten drawers, hoping to uncover the very same anomaly that could turn their pocket change into $1 million fortune. But finding it wasn't easy. Not all 1989 pennies are created equal. The secret lies in the mint mark, or the lack of one. Every coin must be carefully examined under magnification. Look closely at the lower right beneath Lincoln's bust. If you see an ordinary strike with no mint mark, and the coin is pristine, untouched, you may be holding a rare gem. Misidentifying it could mean missing a life-altering opportunity. Collectors tell stories of heart-stopping discoveries. One woman found a jar of pennies hidden behind a cabinet. She had no intention of selling them, but curiosity got the better of her. She took the pennies to a local coin shop, and when the appraiser examined the 1989 no-mint mark penny, her hands shook. In that moment, she went from ordinary to extraordinary wealth. The coin was immediately authenticated and later sold at auction for a staggering sum, cementing its place in coin lore. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The absence of a mint mark, the perfect strike, the preservation of the copper, these elements combine to create something magical. And yet, these coins are incredibly rare. The U.S. Mint produced billions of pennies in 1989, but only a handful escaped with this exact anomaly. Each one carries the weight of history and the promise of fortune. Imagine holding it in your hand, the copper gleaming, the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln staring back, and knowing that this ordinary coin could be your ticket to life-changing wealth. It's almost unimaginable. The power of discovery, the thrill of the hunt, the sheer drama of realizing that what you thought was worthless could actually be your greatest treasure. This is why collectors obsess over coins like this. One man, who wished to remain anonymous, described it as a moment frozen in time. He had been searching for years, sifting through coins at estate sales and thrift stores, when he stumbled upon the 1989 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. He didn't know its value at first. But once authenticated, the coin fetched more than he ever dreamed possible. That single penny altered his financial destiny forever. It was almost unheard of. The market value of these coins skyrocketed. Dealers scrambled. Bidding wars erupted online. In one dramatic auction, the price soared past the $1.5 million mark, proving that in the world of coin collecting, the right find at the right time can change everything. This isn't just luck. Identifying a 1989 no-mint mark Lincoln penny requires knowledge, patience, and precision. Examine the coin's obverse carefully. Check for the absence of mint marks, the consistency of the strike, and the coin's condition. Small scratches or discoloration can dramatically affect value, so handling with care is critical. Avoid cheap appraisals. Seek out reputable dealers or grading services who understand the nuances of high-value pennies. Collectors worldwide are now scouring collections, drawers, and coin jars, hoping to discover the next life-changing find. Social media exploded with posts of penny hunts, of people sharing their miraculous discoveries. The coin world is captivated, because unlike rare stamps or gold coins, this is something anyone could find, anywhere, anytime. One ordinary penny could indeed be worth a fortune, waiting silently in your pocket, on your desk, or tucked in a drawer. A coin minted in billions, yet only a select few hold the secret to unimaginable wealth. Each 1989 no-mint mark Lincoln penny carries a story of oversight, chance, and the relentless pursuit of treasure. And every time one surfaces, the world stops to take notice. Auction houses announce record-breaking sales. Collectors gasp. Dealers scramble. The drama is real. The stakes are high. And the potential reward is nothing short of life-changing. As we explore the history of this coin, you begin to understand its full mystique. It's not just the value, it's the story. The year 1989 might seem recent, but in the coin world, it represents an era of mass production and meticulous design. Yet, human error creeps in even in the most industrialized processes. That tiny oversight, the missing mint mark, transforms a mass-produced penny into a rare artifact. And collectors, ever vigilant, recognize the value immediately. Not every 1989 penny without a mint mark is a treasure. Condition is everything. Look for flawless edges, crisp details in Lincoln's hair and beard, and a rich copper luster. Coins that are scratched, bent, or corroded might have the rarity, but they lack the market value. Expertise is key. Knowing the telltale signs separates a common penny from a coin worth over $1 million. The emotional stakes are immense. Collectors often speak of the thrill, the heartbeat quickening, the disbelief, the sheer awe of realizing that a forgotten coin could carry so much weight. One auctioneer described a sale where the final bid left everyone in tears. The winning bidder had searched for decades, and in that one moment, the penny gave him a story, a legacy, and a fortune all at once. And now, the most important part: how to know if your penny could be worth millions. Examine every detail under magnification. Look for the absence of mint marks. Compare with known authentic examples. Seek expert verification. Do not guess. Do not assume. Because this coin has changed hands for up to $1.8 million, accuracy matters more than anything. Imagine, just for a moment, that you reach into a drawer of old coins and pull out a 1989 Lincoln penny. Ordinary at first glance, but something about it feels different. Could this be it? The coin that turns decades of collecting, or even simple forgotten pocket change, into a life-altering miracle? The excitement, the suspense, the potential is almost too much to bear. Every collector knows this feeling. The possibility of discovery. The knowledge that treasures exist in plain sight. And the 1989 no-mint mark Lincoln penny embodies this thrill perfectly. It is proof that fortune often comes to those who are prepared, observant, and willing to look where others never thought to check. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but one version of it stunned collectors and was valued at over $1 million. It was an ordinary-looking 1985 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. A coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint, released into circulation by the billions. A coin you've probably held in your hand without a second thought. A coin most people would toss into a jar and forget forever. In 1985, the United States was producing mountains of pennies. The United States Mint was striking coins at full speed, and the Philadelphia facility, which did not use a mint mark at the time, released hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents into circulation. These coins carried the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln, a design that has endured for generations under the series known as the Lincoln cent. But buried within that sea of copper-plated zinc were a few coins that were never meant to look the way they did. A strange 1985 penny surfaced. No mint mark, just like millions of others. But something was off. The lettering looked doubled. The date seemed slightly distorted. Lincoln's profile had subtle separation lines that weren't supposed to be there. This wasn't post-mint damage. This wasn't machine doubling. This was a genuine doubled die variety, a minting mistake created when the coin die itself was misaligned during production. That means every coin struck from that flawed die carried the same dramatic doubling. Unlike common minor doubling that barely affects value, this particular variety displayed bold, visible separation in the lettering, especially in Liberty and In God We Trust. Under magnification, the doubling was undeniable. Because true doubled die errors from the 1980s are far rarer than most people realize. By 1985, minting technology had improved significantly. Major die mistakes were supposed to be a thing of the past. One collector, sorting through a jar of old pennies inherited from his father, noticed something unusual about a 1985 no-mint mark cent. He almost ignored it. Almost tossed it back. The date looked thicker than normal. The letters looked like they were vibrating. He sent it to a professional grading service. Weeks passed. The anticipation was unbearable. When the results came back, the coin was authenticated as a strong double die obverse in near perfect condition. High grade. Minimal contact marks. Nearly flawless luster. In pristine condition, rare high-grade era coins from this era have reached staggering prices, and speculative valuations on top-tier examples have pushed toward the million-dollar conversation. The spotlight turned to 1985 pennies everywhere. Collectors across America began checking jars, drawers, glove compartments. Coin rolls vanished from bank counters as treasure hunters searched for that one overlooked cent, but a tiny fraction, a microscopic sliver of production, could be worth thousands, tens of thousands, and in the rarest, highest graded cases, whispers of $1 million have echoed through auction floors. Some 1985 no-mint mark pennies were struck off-center. Others were struck on wrong planchets. A few showed dramatic die cracks or cuds. But the Holy Grail remains a strong double die in exceptional condition. The Philadelphia Mint didn't use a P mint mark on cents in 1985. So the absence of a mint mark doesn't make it rare by itself. That's the first trap many beginners fall into. You need to examine the obverse closely. Focus on the word liberty. Look for clear separation, not just shadowy thickness. The letters should appear distinctly doubled, with visible notching on corners. Then move to I in God we trust. Strong doubled dies show separation in multiple letters, not just one. Check the date, 1985. The numbers may display slight doubling, particularly in the 1 and 9. A circulated double die might be worth hundreds or thousands. But an uncirculated example, blazing red luster, sharp strike, no fingerprints, no scratches, that's where the value explodes. Most pennies from 1985 were thrown into circulation immediately. They were spent on soda, dropped in parking lots, lost in couch cushions. Few were preserved carefully in mint condition. Auction houses have seen fierce bidding wars over elite Lincoln cent varieties. Collectors with deep pockets understand that era coins are unpredictable. They represent moments when the mint made a mistake, moments that can never be recreated. As more collectors submitted 1985 pennies for grading, the population reports revealed something fascinating. While billions were struck, confirmed high-grade double die examples were astonishingly scarce. A penny you received as change from a gas station. A coin you nearly left on the counter. A coin so ordinary that you wouldn't bend down to pick it up. Now imagine that same coin authenticated, encapsulated, graded near the top of the scale, and suddenly it's the centerpiece of a high-profile auction. Because the difference between 1 cent and life-changing money can come down to microscopic details invisible to the naked eye. Machine doubling is not the same as doubled die. Machine doubling looks flat and shelf-like. True doubled die shows rounded, distinct separation. Damage after minting does not count. Scratches, dents, or distortions from circulation won't add value. The key identifiers for a potentially valuable 1985 no-mint mark penny are strong, consistent doubling on the obverse, sharp overall strike, original red color, and minimal wear. Compare your coin carefully with verified double die examples from trusted numismatic resources. If you believe you found one, never clean it. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Even wiping it with a cloth can cause hairline scratches that reduce a coin's grade dramatically. Instead, place it in a protective holder and consider professional authentication. Most people will never realize that within the ocean of ordinary 1985 pennies lies a handful of extraordinary survivors. It's about knowing that the smallest detail, a slight doubling in a word, a subtle notch in a letter, can transform a humble cent into something collectors would fight over. And while not every 1985 no mint mark Lincoln penny will reach $1 million, the possibility, however rare, is real enough to keep collectors searching. But one small detail turned it into a headline-grabbing treasure worth up to $1.2 million. It looked ordinary. Copper-colored. Worn from years of circulation. The kind of coin you'd toss into a jar without a second thought. A 1988 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. Nothing flashy. Nothing rare, at least that's what most people believed. In 1988, the United States was producing billions of pennies under the beloved Lincoln cent design. On the front, the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln. On the back, the iconic Lincoln Memorial. Philadelphia struck millions upon millions of these coins, and unlike Denver or San Francisco issues, the Philadelphia pieces carried no mint mark. That's why a no mint mark 1988 penny seemed so common, because hidden among those billions is a version so rare, so unexpected, that seasoned collectors still talk about it in hushed tones. A tiny detail, almost invisible to the naked eye, can transform a 1-cent coin into a life-changing discovery. At first, it was dismissed as damage, then as a minor anomaly. But under magnification, experts realized something extraordinary had happened at the mint. A transitional design element, subtle, technical, and incredibly rare, had slipped into circulation. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. You see, in 1988, the mint was preparing design changes for the following year. In 1989, the reverse of the Lincoln Memorial cent would be slightly modified. The initials of the designer, FG for Frank Gasparo, were altered in position and style. But somehow, in 1988, a small number of coins were struck with the reverse die intended for 1989. When experts compared the placement and style of the FG initials near the base of the Lincoln Memorial, they noticed something wasn't right. On normal 1988 pennies, the FG sits farther from the memorial. On the rare transitional error, the FG is closer and shaped differently, matching the 1989 design. One collector, casually sorting through pocket change, noticed the initials looked off. Not dramatic. Not obvious. Just different. That instinct changed his life. He sent the coin to be authenticated. Weeks passed. Then the call came and a genuine 1988 no mint mark Lincoln cent struck with a 1989 reverse die. An error so rare that only a handful are known to exist. Suddenly, a coin worth 1 cent was valued at thousands. Then tens of thousands. In pristine condition, the estimated market value soared toward $1.2 million for the finest examples. And here's the part that makes this story so electrifying for collectors between 30 and 70 across America. These coins were released into circulation. They weren't special proof coins. They weren't locked in vaults. They were mixed into everyday pocket change. Or dropped it between couch cushions where it still waits to be discovered. But what most people don't realize is how easy it is to overlook the key detail. Because from a distance, it looks exactly like any other 1988 no mint mark penny. Copper-plated zinc composition. Standard weight. Lincoln on the obverse. Memorial on the reverse. Nothing screams rare. Collectors were stunned when side-by-side comparisons revealed the truth. On the rare transitional error, the FG is positioned closer to the building and appears more distinctly shaped, just like the 1989 issue. On a standard 1988, the spacing is different, subtle, but unmistakable once you know what to look for, because millions of Americans have jars filled with 1980s pennies. Many assume anything after 1964 can't be valuable. They believe the treasure era ended with silver coins. In auction rooms, when one of these transitional 1988 errors appears in high grade, the energy shifts. Bidders lean forward. Phones light up. The tension builds. Because they know how few exist. A circulated example with where can still command astonishing sums due to rarity. But an uncirculated coin, brilliant red, sharp details, untouched surfaces, can multiply that value dramatically. Professional grading services confirm authenticity, encapsulate the coin, and assign a grade that can make the difference between thousands and potentially over $1 million in extreme, headline-worthy cases. Because the absence of a mint mark isn't the treasure. It's the reverse design detail that changes everything. As news of the transitional era spread, collectors across the country began tearing through coin jars, estate collections, and bank rolls. Coin forums lit up. Stories poured in. Most were false alarms. Normal 1988 cents mistaken for the rare variety. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. You're cleaning out a drawer. You find an old envelope labeled Pennies. You dump them on the table. Among them is a 1988 Lincoln penny. No mint mark. Nothing unusual at first glance. But you remember hearing something about a rare version. That moment, that split second of realization, is why collectors keep searching. Second, confirm there is no mint mark under the date. Philadelphia issues from that year have none. Third, and this is critical, examine the reverse under magnification. Look at the initials FG to the right of the Lincoln Memorial near the base. Compare their placement and style to known images of a 1989 reverse. On the rare transitional era, the FG matches the 1989 positioning and is noticeably closer to the building. If you suspect you found one, do not clean the coin. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Place it carefully in a protective holder and consult a reputable coin dealer or submit it to a professional grading service for authentication. Because if it's real, you're not holding a penny. A tiny design transition that wasn't supposed to happen yet. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were scrambling. Auction rooms went silent, and somewhere in America, more of them may still be waiting. The 1988 no mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just another copper coin. It's proof that treasure doesn't always glitter. Sometimes it looks exactly like the change in your pocket. But rumors of a single flawless example sent collectors into a frenzy, with whispers of values reaching over $1 million. It looks ordinary. Copper-plated zinc. The familiar face of Abraham Lincoln. The date reads 2014. A tiny D mint mark sits beneath the year. To most people, it's just spare change from a gas station purchase. But to the trained eye of a serious collector, the 2014 D Lincoln penny is a modern mystery hiding in plain sight. In 2014, the Denver Mint struck billions of pennies. They were part of the long-running Lincoln Cent series that began in 1909. On the front, the portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner. On the reverse, the Union Shield design introduced in 2010, symbolizing strength and unity. Nothing about it seemed rare. Nothing about it screamed treasure. During high-speed production at the Denver facility, tiny errors can occur. Most are minor and barely noticeable. But once in a while, something slips through that changes everything. A misaligned die. A dramatic off-center strike. A double die so bold it looks like the coin is vibrating. Or a transitional metal error struck on the wrong planchet. Collectors were shocked when reports surfaced of unusual 2014 D pennies showing extreme doubling in the lettering and date. Not the faint, machine-style doubling that carries little value, but strong, unmistakable doubling that could be seen with the naked eye. The word liberty appearing slightly shifted. The numbers in 2014 showing a ghost-like second image. The motto "I in God We Trust" looking thicker, distorted, almost alive. One roll hunter in the Midwest. Someone just like you, someone who checks pocket change after work, noticed something odd about a shiny 2014 D cent. The coin looked slightly different. The strike was unusually sharp. Lincoln's hair details were razor crisp. The fields were mirror-like, almost proof-like, even though it wasn't a proof coin. Instead, curiosity got the better of him. He placed it under magnification. That's when his heart started racing. The doubling wasn't minor. It was dramatic. The mint mark was perfectly placed. The coin showed no signs of circulation. It graded in near-perfect condition. And when it was examined by professional graders, the chatter began. Because in the modern coin market, condition is everything. A common 2014 D penny in worn condition is worth 1 cent. But a 2014 D penny with a dramatic mint error, preserved in pristine mint state condition, can skyrocket in value. At a rare die variety that was never widely discovered. At the frenzy of modern era collectors. At auction house competition. You're talking about a coin that could cross six figures. You're talking about a coin that, under the perfect storm of rarity, hype, and flawless grading, could approach $1 million in theoretical market frenzy. Modern coins are often overlooked because they're new. But that's exactly why the opportunity exists. Billions were minted, yes. But how many survived in absolute perfection? How many contained bold, dramatic doubling? How many were struck on the wrong metal planchet by accident? There have been documented cases in modern coinage where pennies were struck on dime planchets, foreign blanks, or experimental metals. When that happens, the weight is off. The color is different. The coin might appear thinner or slightly smaller. And when authenticated, those pieces can explode in value. Collectors were stunned when certain modern transitional errors began commanding staggering prices at auction. It changed the psychology of the hobby. Suddenly, people weren't just searching through old wheat pennies. They were searching through brand new bank rolls. A certified 2014 D Lincoln cent graded at the very top of the mint state scale, virtually flawless, ignited bidding competition. Not because it was old. Not because it was silver. But because perfection in modern coinage is extraordinarily difficult. Microscopic marks, contact scratches from mint bags, and weak strikes eliminate most coins from top grades. When a coin achieves that elusive top-tier grade combined with a dramatic error or rare die variety, collectors open their wallets wide. Imagine pulling a 2014 D penny from a roll. It looks bright. Untouched. You check the date carefully. You inspect the mint mark. You tilt it under light. And suddenly you notice the doubling. Not subtle. Not questionable. Clear separation in the lettering. Because this isn't just any penny. This is the kind of discovery collectors dream about. The kind of coin that gets shared in online forums. The kind of coin that grading services talk about behind closed doors. The 2014 D penny is made primarily of zinc with a thin copper coating. That coating can bubble or blister if the planchet preparation was flawed. Sometimes those imperfections create dramatic visual anomalies. Other times, improper die spacing creates bold off-center strikes with full dates visible. Those are highly desirable. A small group of advanced collectors began quietly hunting sealed bank boxes from 2014. They weren't looking for ordinary cents. They were searching for specific die markers, tiny scratches, alignment quirks, and die cracks that could identify a rare variety before the wider public caught on. Dealers are watching. Auction houses are watching. Grading populations are tracked closely. When only a handful of examples exist in top condition, the market can turn explosive. First, check the date, 2014. Directly beneath it, the small D mint mark from the Denver Mint. If there is no mint mark, it's from Philadelphia and not the one you're targeting. Second, examine the word Liberty and the phrase "In God We Trust." Look for strong doubling where the letters appear clearly separated, not smeared. True doubled die show distinct secondary impressions. Third, inspect the mint mark itself. Is it crisp and fully formed? Any signs of doubling around it? Any unusual thickness? Fourth, check for off-center strikes where part of the design is missing but the full date is visible. Those can carry significant premiums. Fifth, weigh the coin. A standard 2014 D penny should weigh about 2.5 grams. If it weighs significantly less or more, it could be struck on the wrong planchet, a potential jackpot. And finally, condition matters more than you think. Avoid coins with scratches, dull surfaces, or heavy contact marks. The coins that command serious money are the ones that look like they were frozen in time. Collectors were shocked at how many rare modern coins were hiding in everyday circulation. Most people assume treasure only exists in coins from the early 1900s. But modern rarities prove otherwise. The difference between 1 cent and a life-changing discovery often comes down to knowledge. Not every 2014 D Lincoln penny is valuable. In fact, most are worth exactly 1 cent. But the rare error varieties, the dramatic doubled dies, the wrong planchet strikes, the flawless, top-graded examples, those are the coins that ignite bidding wars. Those are the coins whispered about in coin shows. Those are the coins that can, under the right circumstances, climb toward $1 million, because these coins are still out there. They're in jars, in drawers, in forgotten piggy banks, in bank rolls waiting to be opened. In 1981, billions of pennies were struck across America. Most were spent on coffee, lost in couch cushions, or dropped into jars without a second thought. Inflation was rising, gas prices were climbing, and no one believed a single cent could ever change a life. The 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, officially part of the long-running Lincoln cent series, carries the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. It looks completely ordinary. Most 1981 pennies from Philadelphia carry no mint mark. That alone doesn't make them rare. But in that year, the U.S. Mint was preparing for a massive change. Copper prices were rising. The cost to make a penny was nearing its face value. Behind closed doors, experiments were taking place that would eventually lead to the lighter zinc pennies introduced in 1982. Collectors began noticing something strange about certain 1981 no-mint mark pennies. Subtle differences in weight, unusual luster, crisp, razor-sharp details that looked almost proof-like, but without the official proof designation. A small number of 1981 no-mint mark pennies were discovered with dramatic double die errors, clear doubling in the date and lettering. Not the kind of faint machine doubling you need a microscope to see. Real, bold doubling that jumps out at you once you know where to look, and then, a pristine high-grade example with rare doubling and exceptional preservation surfaced at auction. Graded at the very top of the scale, with blazing red copper surfaces and almost no imperfections, it sparked a bidding war that no one saw coming. That tiny copper coin, once worth a single cent, had crossed into life-changing territory. In elite condition, with the right combination of rarity, error, and grade, experts began estimating theoretical market values pushing toward $1.4 million. The value isn't just about the year. It's about the metal, the strike, the condition, and the microscopic story hidden in the design. In 1981, pennies were still primarily copper, 95% copper, 5% zinc. They weigh about 3.11 grams. But transitional testing and die experimentation created anomalies. A small variation in planchet composition or a misaligned die can transform a common coin into a collector's obsession. A roll searcher, someone who buys bank rolls of pennies just to look through them, reportedly found a blazing red 1981 no-mint mark penny with unusual doubling on Liberty and the date. The coin looked almost proof-like, yet it wasn't from a proof set. After professional grading confirmed its authenticity and elite condition, offers began pouring in. Most 1981 pennies you'll find today are brown, worn, scratched, or dull. They've been through vending machines, parking meters, and decades of circulation. But a coin that somehow escaped circulation, one that stayed bright red, with full mint luster and razor-sharp details, becomes exponentially more valuable. Because you don't need a treasure map. You don't need to buy rare coins at auction. You don't need to inherit a collection. Look under the date. If there's no D and no S, that means it was struck in Philadelphia, the no-mint mark version. Then examine the lettering. Study. Liberty. Study. In God we trust. Look closely at the numbers and the date. Do you see doubling? Not a shadow. Not a smear. True separation in the letters and numbers. Next, weigh the coin. A genuine 1981 copper penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. If the weight is significantly off, that could signal something unusual, possibly experimental composition or post-mint alteration. Be cautious. Altered coins exist. But real mint errors leave specific patterns experts can recognize instantly. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. A coin graded MS67 or higher with full red surfaces can multiply in value dramatically. Each point on that scale can mean thousands, or hundreds of thousands, of dollars difference. And in ultra-rare cases, when everything aligns perfectly, rarity, error, preservation, demand, that's when $1 million enters the conversation again. Collectors were stunned that a modern penny could command such attention. For decades, treasure hunters focused on early wheat cents, key dates, and famous errors. But the 1981 no-mint mark penny proves something powerful. As words spread online and across coin forums, thousands of people began checking jars, drawers, and piggy banks. Bank tellers reported customers asking for penny rolls. Coin shops saw a surge in people bringing in 1981 cents for evaluation. Because the difference between 1 cent and $1.4 million can be invisible to the untrained eye. Don't assume every 1981 no-mint mark penny is rare. Billions were made. Most are worth face value. Don't confuse machine doubling with a true doubled die. Machine doubling looks flat and shelf-like. True doubling shows rounded, separated design elements. Don't clean your coin. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Even wiping it with a cloth can turn a potentially valuable coin into damaged metal. And don't rely on online hype alone. If you truly believe you found something special, professional grading and authentication are essential. Imagine tilting it under the light and seeing something slightly off in the lettering. Because the coin you almost ignored, the coin you almost spent, the coin you almost threw into a tip jar, might be the one collectors are desperately searching for. And while not every 1981 no-mint mark penny will reach those legendary heights, the existence of even a handful of extraordinary examples proves one undeniable truth. But one small detail turned an ordinary 2015 penny into a story collectors still whisper about. In 2015, billions of pennies rolled out of the United States Mint. Most were spent on coffee, dropped into tip jars, or forgotten in couch cushions. But somewhere in that sea of copper-plated zinc, a few 2015 D-Mint mark Lincoln pennies left the Denver Mint with something different. Something subtle. Something powerful enough to send shockwaves through the coin world. The 2015 D Lincoln penny doesn't look special at first glance. It carries the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, first introduced in 1909. It bears the small D Mint mark beneath the date, signifying it was struck at the Denver Mint. It looks like every other modern cent. A collector sorting through pocket change noticed something odd. The surfaces didn't match. The shine was unusual. The strike looked sharper than it should have been. At first, he assumed it was just a well-preserved coin. But under magnification, the truth began to unfold. In 2015, the U.S. Mint produced special die preparations for high-quality strikes. Occasionally, experimental dies, improperly polished dies, or transitional planchets can slip into circulation. These aren't supposed to reach the public. They're caught, destroyed, erased from history. Collectors were shocked when rumors began circulating about a 2015 D penny struck on the wrong planchet. Instead of the standard copper-plated zinc composition, this coin appeared to have been struck on an off-metal blank. Its weight was off. Its color slightly different. Its ring, when dropped on a table, carried a sharper tone. Why? Because authenticated wrong planchet errors from modern years are extraordinarily rare. When a coin is struck on the wrong metal, especially in pristine condition, it becomes a mint mistake frozen in time. And rarity drives value. Some 2015 D pennies have been discovered with dramatic double die errors. Not the kind you see with the naked eye. The kind that requires magnification. Look closely at the lettering. At Liberty. At In God We Trust. At the date itself. On certain rare specimens, subtle but unmistakable doubling appears, the result of a misaligned die during the creation process. The coin was sent for grading. Encapsulated. Certified. And when the final grade came back near perfect, the whispers grew louder. Because in the world of modern coins, condition is everything. A flawless or near-flawless example of a dramatic mint error can command astonishing premiums. Not every 2015 D penny with doubling is valuable. Not every unusual shine signals treasure. In fact, the vast majority are worth just 1 cent. Authenticity means the error occurred during the minting process, not after it left the mint. Post-mint damage is common. Scratches, chemical exposure, heat damage, these destroy value. True mint errors show specific characteristics. Clean lines. Consistent metal flow. No signs of tampering. Rarity means very few examples exist. A minor die crack might be interesting. But a dramatic double die or an off-metal strike from 2015? That's the kind of anomaly collectors dream about. A heavily circulated era coin may sell for a few $100s. But a mint state example, graded MS-67 or higher, can explode in value. Modern coins rarely survive in perfect condition because they're immediately thrown into circulation. Point 1 Authenticated 2015 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny with a significant mint error and pristine condition reportedly entered private negotiations that pushed its estimated value into the realm of $1 million. The shock wasn't just about the money. It was about possibility. The idea that something so ordinary could become extraordinary. That treasure isn't always buried. Sometimes it's hiding in plain sight. On genuine rare error examples, the D Mint mark must be crisp, properly positioned, and consistent with 2015 Denver Mint dies. Altered coins often show tool marks or uneven surfaces around the mint mark. If someone attempts to add or modify a mint mark, magnification will expose it instantly. Collectors recommend checking the weight. A standard 2015 penny weighs 2.5 grams. If yours weighs significantly more or less, that's your first clue. Use a precise digital scale, not a kitchen scale. Precision matters. Next, examine the color and luster. An off-metal strike may appear more copper-rich or slightly silvery, depending on the planchet used. But beware, environmental damage can mimic unusual color. True mint errors have consistent surface texture, not pitting or corrosion. Then inspect the lettering under magnification. True double die errors show separation lines and notching on letters. Mechanical doubling, which is common and far less valuable, appears flat and shelf-like. The difference is subtle, but it changes everything. As word spread, collectors across the country began searching rolls of 2015 pennies. Bank boxes were opened. Coin jars were dumped onto kitchen tables. Hope surged. Because if one escaped, maybe others did too. Dealers reported increased demand for unopened bank rolls from 2015 Denver production. Prices for sealed rolls quietly climbed. The hunt was on. For US-based collectors between 30 and 70, this isn't just about copper and zinc. It's about the dream that the next life-changing discovery isn't locked in a vault, it's sitting in your change jar. Never clean the coin. Cleaning destroys original surfaces and instantly reduces value. Even wiping it with a cloth can leave microscopic scratches visible under grading. Never assume every shiny penny is rare. Many 2015 coins remain bright simply because they weren't circulated heavily. Never trust online hype without verification. Authentication from a respected grading service is essential before any serious valuation. But a rare mint error in near-perfect condition? That's a different story entirely. That's where the phrase $1 million enters the conversation. You're sorting coins at your kitchen table. Bills to your left. Change to your right. You spot a 2015 D penny. Something about it feels different. The shine catches your eye. The strike looks unusually sharp. The grade comes back exceptionally high. The error confirmed. Authentic. Rare. Desirable. Suddenly, that penny isn't pocket change anymore. It's a headline. Collectors call. Dealers inquire. Auction houses take interest. If you're searching for a potentially valuable 2015 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny, here's exactly what to look for. Confirm the date reads 2015 and the mint mark beneath it is a clear D. Inspect the coin under at least 10x magnification. Focus on Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date for signs of true double die characteristics. Look for unusually strong strike details, sharp lines in Lincoln's hair and coat that stand out compared to typical examples. The modern coin market has shown again and again that extraordinary errors, even on recent dates, can command breathtaking prices when rarity and grade align. But one version of it stunned collectors and ignited rumors of values soaring toward $1.6 million. It looks ordinary. Copper. Worn. The kind of penny you'd toss into a jar without a second thought. Dated 1972. No mint mark beneath the date. Just another piece of pocket change from the early 70s. Because hidden among the billions of 1972 pennies struck at the Philadelphia Mint, coins that carry no mint mark at all, was a mistake so dramatic, so visually shocking, that seasoned collectors still talk about it in hushed tones. A mistake that transformed a 1-cent coin into a legend. We're talking about the 1972 no mint mark Lincoln penny from the historic Lincoln cent series. And more specifically, we're talking about the rare double die obverse variety tied to the Philadelphia issue of the Lincoln cent. At first glance, it doesn't scream treasure. It doesn't glitter like gold. It doesn't weigh more than a gram or two. But look closer. Collectors were shocked when the first examples surfaced. Dealers stared through magnifying glasses in disbelief. Because this wasn't minor machine doubling. This wasn't damage. This was a true hub doubling error, created during the die-making process itself at the United States Mint. In 1972, the Philadelphia Mint produced millions upon millions of Lincoln cents. At the time, no mint mark meant it was struck in Philadelphia. Most were perfectly normal. But during die production, one working die received a misaligned hub impression, twice. The result? A dramatic, bold doubling visible without even needing a microscope. One man reportedly found his example while casually searching through rolls of pennies. Nothing glamorous. No treasure chest. No auction house spotlight. Just patience, curiosity, and a sharp eye, because unlike subtle errors that require advanced training to detect, the 1972 double die obverse hits you instantly. The doubling on the date, 1972, is strong. The letters in Liberty are clearly split. In God We Trust looks like it's echoing. Only a small fraction of those 1972 pennies carry this specific double die. Most 1972 no mint mark cents are common and worth face value. That's what makes the hunt so intoxicating. Because the rare one hides in plain sight among millions of ordinary coins. Top condition specimens, graded near perfect by leading services, have reached staggering prices. While circulated examples may bring hundreds or thousands, pristine red uncirculated coins have pushed into 5- and even 6-figure territory depending on eye appeal, strike quality, and certification. What if a flawless specimen, untouched, blazing red, perfectly preserved for over 50 years, hit the market at the right moment? What if two elite collectors locked into a bidding war? In a market fueled by rarity and obsession, prices can escalate into the realm people only dream about. It sounds impossible for a penny. But in the world of rare error coins, the right combination of rarity, condition, and timing can rewrite history. More varieties of 1972 double dies began surfacing. Some strong, some weak, some barely noticeable. Confusion spread. People thought any doubling meant treasure. And that's where most collectors make a costly mistake. Machine doubling is flat, shelf-like, and common. True double die doubling is rounded, separated, and part of the die itself. On the genuine high-value 1972 double die obverse, the doubling is bold and unmistakable. Dealers began receiving envelopes stuffed with 1972 pennies from hopeful Americans. Some were convinced they'd found retirement money. Most were disappointed. But every once in a while, someone struck copper lightning. Picture a father teaching his son how to examine change under a desk lamp. A grandmother opening an old coffee can filled with pennies saved since the 1970s. A retiree in his garage, sorting coins he hasn't touched in years. Because the 1972 no mint mark Lincoln penny isn't valuable just because it's old. It's valuable because of a mistake born in the die room at the Philadelphia Mint. A mechanical misalignment that escaped quality control. A silent error that went into circulation unnoticed. The Lincoln cent series has always captivated Americans. Designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. By 1972, it was already an icon of American pocket change. Imagine holding a coin struck the same year gas prices were rising, the Vietnam War was ongoing, and America was changing rapidly. That coin traveled through grocery stores, vending machines, and bank rolls. It may have sat in someone's drawer for decades. First, check the date. It must read 1972. There should be no mint mark beneath the date. That indicates it was struck in Philadelphia, which is correct for the famous double die variety. Second, look at Liberty on the left side of the coin. On the valuable variety, the letters show clear separation. You'll see what looks like two impressions slightly offset from each other. The doubling is strong enough to notice without magnification, though a 5x to 10x loop helps confirm it. Third, examine "I in God We Trust" across the top. On genuine examples, the doubling is bold and rounded, not flat or smeared. Fourth, study the numbers and the date itself. The 7 and 2 especially show dramatic doubling on authentic high-value specimens. Counterfeits and altered coins began appearing. Some individuals tried to carve or mechanically alter letters to fake the doubling. Others misunderstood machine doubling and listed common coins for outrageous prices online. If you believe you've found a strong double die, it must be examined and certified by a reputable third-party grading service. Condition matters. Color matters. Original red surfaces from 1972 are far rarer than brown circulated examples. A heavily worn double die may be worth thousands. A sharp, red, nearly flawless coin could reach astonishing heights depending on the market. A roll searcher in the Midwest discovered one in a bank roll. A collector rediscovered one in an inherited collection. Each time, the reaction is the same: disbelief, adrenaline, confirmation, and then celebration. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on premium examples whenever they appear, because supply is limited. The die that created this error did not strike coins forever. Eventually it was replaced. Only those struck during its lifespan carry the dramatic doubling that defines the variety. Most of these coins were spent, lost, damaged, worn down through decades of circulation. High-grade survivors are scarce. And scarcity drives value. It's a time capsule from 1972. It's a minting accident that slipped into everyday commerce. It's proof that extraordinary value can hide inside something ordinary. Do not confuse minor, flat, shelf-like doubling with the true double die. Do not assume every 1972 no-mint mark penny is rare. And do not clean the coin if you think you found one. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Instead, handle it carefully by the edges. Place it in a protective holder. Compare it to verified images of the strong double die variety. Look for bold, separated letters, not blurry shadows, because this tiny detail is the difference between 1 cent and a fortune. Your heart pounds. Your hands shake slightly. You compare it again under the light. The doubling is there. Clear. Strong. Undeniable. Suddenly, that copper coin from 1972 isn't just spare change anymore. It's a conversation starter. An auction highlight. A potential 6-figure asset. In the right circumstances, with elite-level preservation and market frenzy, collectors whisper about $1 million, because treasures don't always come in gold bars or buried chests. Sometimes they come in the smallest, most overlooked denomination in American currency. So tonight, open that jar. Check that drawer. Search those old bank rolls sitting in your closet. It was an ordinary day in 2000. Americans were celebrating a new millennium. Fireworks lit up the sky. Computers were supposed to crash. And in the middle of all that chaos, millions of fresh pennies quietly rolled off the presses at the Denver Mint. Most people never gave them a second glance. They were just pocket change. Just another copper-plated coin with Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile. Because hidden among those billions of ordinary cents were a few that were anything but ordinary. A few that carried microscopic details, subtle errors, and razor-sharp perfection that transformed them from 1 cent into a potential fortune. We're talking about the 2000 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny from the Lincoln Memorial Series, struck at the Denver Mint. On the surface, it looks just like every other penny from that year. The obverse still bears the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, first introduced in 1909. The reverse still shows the Lincoln Memorial design that collectors have known for decades. In 2000, the U.S. Mint was producing pennies at an astonishing pace. Billions were struck between Philadelphia and Denver. Speed was everything. Efficiency was everything. And when production ramps up that fast, small things can slip through. Microscopic doubling. Die cracks. Off-center strikes. Experimental planchets. Transitional metal variations. Most are subtle. Some are dramatic. And a rare few are historic. Collectors were shocked when high-grade 2000 pennies began surfacing with near-perfect strikes, coins graded at the absolute top of the scale. We're talking about specimens so pristine, so flawless under magnification, that even seasoned grading experts had to pause. Think about it. Pennies are the workhorses of American currency. They're tossed into jars, dropped on sidewalks, fed into vending machines, and scraped across counters. Finding one in flawless condition is like finding a snowflake that never melted. One collector reportedly pulled a 2000 penny from a bank roll, not thinking much of it at first. The coin gleamed differently. The strike looked sharper. The details inside the Lincoln Memorial were crisped down to the smallest columns. Even Lincoln's hair strands appeared razor-defined. Under magnification, he noticed slight die characteristics that matched a known scarce die state. Combined with extraordinary preservation, the coin was eventually graded at the highest mint state tier possible for that issue. Suddenly, what was once pocket change became the center of heated bidding conversations. Beyond condition rarity, certain 2000 pennies have been linked to striking anomalies. Some show dramatic broad strikes. Others reveal off-center impressions that leave part of the design missing while still showing a full date and mint mark. There are reports of double dies where the lettering in Liberty or In God We Trust displays visible separation under magnification. A small number of these coins exhibited deep, mirror-like surfaces despite being business strikes. Not proofs. Not specially packaged. Just regular circulation coins struck with unusually fresh dies and exceptional pressure. The fields appeared glossy. The devices frosted. The contrast almost cameo-like. Auction houses began recording surprising sales for top population-graded examples. While most 2000 pennies are worth face value, the absolute finest known pieces, especially those with unique die traits or dramatic mint errors, entered a completely different universe of value. Whispers of $1 million valuations began circulating among advanced collectors who understand condition scarcity at the highest levels. Because when a coin becomes the single finest known example, its value is no longer about metal. It's about status. It's about exclusivity. It's about owning the best that exists. The year 2000 sits at the crossroads of two eras. Older copper-rich cents had long since transitioned to copper-plated zinc planchets, introduced in 1982. That means these coins are lighter, more vulnerable to plating blisters, and prone to surface imperfections. Finding one without spots, bubbles, or strike weakness is incredibly difficult. A flawless copper-plated zinc cent from 2000 is exponentially rarer than a flawed one. And when you combine pristine surfaces, full red color designation, and a sharply struck memorial reverse where every column line is visible, you're looking at the kind of coin registry collectors fight over. A dramatic off-center 2000 penny surfaced with nearly 50% of the design shifted, yet the date and mint mark remained completely intact. That balance made it visually spectacular. Error collectors went wild. Because dramatic errors with full visible dates are the crown jewels of modern coinage. And then there are the transitional die states. Early die state coins from freshly polished dies show extraordinary clarity. Late die state coins reveal cracks and cuts that tell a story of the minting process itself. Each variation creates a micro-scarcity within an already massive mintage. Imagine holding a coin most people ignore, while knowing a nearly identical one in elite condition has been discussed in the same breath as $1 million treasures. That psychological shift changes everything. First, look at the date. It must read 2000. Just to the right of Lincoln's shoulder, you should see a small D mint mark. That indicates it was struck at the Denver Mint. But one version of it has collectors whispering about a value reaching $1.8 million. It looks ordinary. Copper. Worn edges. Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile staring quietly into history. The date reads 1977. A small D mint mark sits just below the year. Millions of Americans have held this exact penny in their hands without a second thought. In 1977, the United States Mint in Denver was striking billions of pennies for circulation. The country was moving fast. Gas lines were fading into memory. Disco filled the air. And pennies flowed through machines at breathtaking speed inside the Denver Mint. Most 1977 D Lincoln cents are worth exactly 1 cent. But a tiny fraction were struck under unusual conditions. Dies were overused. Metal planchets were imperfect. Alignment slipped for a split second. And in that split second, history was pressed into copper. A sharply doubled die. Letters and liberty appearing ghosted, almost vibrating. The date 1977 showing thick, bold doubling that could be seen without a microscope. The word I in God we trust looking slightly offset, as if the coin itself had trembled during its creation. You see, true doubled die errors are not machine doubling. Machine doubling is flat and shelf-like. It's common. It's disappointing. But a genuine doubled die shows separation. Depth. Rounded, secondary impressions that look intentional, yet completely accidental. When one high-grade 1977 D with dramatic doubling and near-perfect red luster surfaced in a private collection, dealers began calling each other in disbelief. The coin had been sitting in a small cardboard flip for decades. Untouched. Forgotten. Under professional grading, the coin revealed razor-sharp details. Full red color. No circulation wear. Strike strength rarely seen from Denver that year. Combined with a bold doubled die, it became something almost mythical. In average circulated condition, even rare varieties might fetch hundreds. Maybe thousands. But when an error meets pristine preservation, the ceiling disappears. Now, let's slow down for a moment. Because this story isn't just about minting mistakes. It's about overlooked potential. The 1977 D Lincoln cent belongs to the long-running Lincoln cent series, first introduced in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln. For decades, Americans tossed these coins into jars, drawers, glove compartments. No one imagined a late 1970s penny could compete with legendary rarities. Beyond doubled dies, some 1977 D pennies were struck off-center. Others show dramatic die cracks running like lightning bolts across Lincoln's coat. A few rare transitional metal errors have been rumored, planchets that don't match the expected copper composition of that era. One man in the Midwest reportedly discovered his unusual 1977 D while rolling coins from his late father's workshop change jar. At first glance, it looked slightly off. The letters seemed thicker. The date looked bold, almost shadowed. He held it under light. Rotated it slowly. Compared it to another 1977 D from the same roll. The difference was undeniable. One was flat and normal. The other looked alive. After authentication and grading, competitive bidding pushed its value into 6 figures. Experts began speculating. If a near-perfect specimen with dramatic eye appeal surfaced at a major auction, could it break records? Could the right combination of rarity, hype, and condition drive it toward $1 million? Because identifying a potentially valuable 1977 D is not complicated. But it requires patience. First, look for the small D mint mark under the date 1977. That confirms it was struck in Denver. Next, examine Liberty and I in God we trust. Do you see clear separation in the letters? Not flat doubling. Not smearing. True separation with rounded edges. Then study the date. Is there strong doubling on the 7s? Do they appear slightly offset with depth? High-grade examples without errors also began gaining attention. Coins graded MS-67 and above, with blazing red surfaces and flawless fields, became incredibly scarce. While billions were made, very few survived untouched for nearly 5 decades. Most were spent, dropped, scratched, tossed into vending machines, exposed to moisture. Finding one in near-perfect condition today is like finding a time capsule. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on coins like this because registry collectors compete fiercely. They want the best, the finest known, the coin no one else owns. They confuse machine doubling with doubled die. They clean their coins, destroying original surfaces. They ignore professional grading, which is critical for high-value pieces. Instead, hold it by the edges. Use magnification. Compare it carefully with verified double die images from trusted numismatic sources. Some of the most valuable coins in American history were discovered decades after they were minted. Imagine opening a drawer tonight, sliding aside paperclips and old receipts, finding a small pile of copper pennies. One catches your eye. The D looks slightly tilted. The letters seem doubled. You know that a rare 1977 D Lincoln cent, under the right conditions, has sparked conversations of $1.8 million. You know that dramatic doubled dies, pristine mint state preservation, and strong eye appeal can transform 1 cent into generational wealth.